This is the One Girl Revolution podcast, a podcast that highlights the stories of world-changing women and girls across the country. We hope that these stories inspire you, but even more so, we hope that these stories help you to see your own value, your purpose, and your power to change the world through your life. Every woman and girl is a One Girl Revolution. This week on the One Girl Revolution podcast, we welcome Yasmine Arrington Brooks, founder of ScholarCHIPS. ScholarCHIPS is a nonprofit organization that provides college scholarships and support to college-bound young adults who have incarcerated parents. As a junior in high school, Yasmine became a fellow with LearnServe International, and it was around that same time that Yasmine and her grandmother were searching for scholarships to help cover her future college tuition. But they couldn't find one for teens like her, teens who had incarcerated parents. She began researching and realizing that there were millions of other young people out there just like her who have an incarcerated parent or parents and could benefit from a college scholarship and a mentorship program tailored to them and their experiences. So Yasmine decided to create one, and that was when ScholarCHIPS began. ScholarCHIPS provides college scholarships, mentoring, mental health support, peer support, and a network to college-bound young adults who have incarcerated parents, with a goal to inspire them to chase their dreams and complete their college education. ScholarCHIPS envisions a world where children, adolescents, and young adults with incarcerated parents are no longer marginalized and forgotten about by society and are afforded equal opportunity and access to higher education. In the United States alone, more than 5 million children have had a parent in prison at some point in their lives. ScholarCHIPS is the only organization uniquely positioned to provide ongoing tailored support and resources to young adults who have experienced parental incarceration and are making their way through college. It's incredible what they're doing. Yasmine shares more about her own story, her own experiences as a child of incarcerated parents, and she talks about the incredible work she's doing through ScholarCHIPS. You don't want to miss this inspiring episode. Here's my conversation with Yasmine. Yasmine, welcome to the One Girl Revolution podcast.
Thank you, Kate. I'm so excited to be with you today.
I am so excited to have you on. I've been following your story for a while now because you have kind of come in contact in different ways with some of our favorite One Girl Revolutions. And when I came across your story, I was like, oh my gosh, we have to get Yasmine on to share her own story and talk about all the incredible work that you do with ScholarCHIPS. And I shared with you before we started recording, I recently or earlier today, I was watching an episode of Drew Barrymore's show and you were featured on that. I know you've done so much media. You were a CNN hero. I mean, so many great things that we could point to, but your story is so profound and powerful and your work is the same. It's so incredible and inspiring. And so I'm grateful to have you on the podcast. And before we get into the work that you do with ScholarCHIPS, I would love to rewind and hear a little bit about your own story. You have such a powerful life story, so inspiring, and where you've come from and where you're going. I know that life is full of many chapters, but would you mind rewinding and sharing a little bit about your own life journey, your own personal experience with incarceration, and just your own story?
Yes, absolutely. So I was born and raised in Washington, D.C., in the city. I was raised primarily by my maternal grandmother, my mother's mother. And in terms of how ScholarCHIPS came about, when I was in high school, I'm a product of a proud product of DC public schools. There is still amazing public education out there. I'm a testament to it. I'm a product of public school education. And also my son is in public schools, and there's an amazing, side note, there's an amazing team over there at the middle school he's at. But anyways, when I was in high school, I did all of the things. I was always a very curious student and child, very audacious and all of those things. But I do think that me being in so many activities was a distraction at times from my reality at home, which was filled with some turmoil and challenges. My mother fell very ill. She and my dad never got married because they were very young. My mother had me when she was pregnant with me when she was graduating high school. So she was like 17 or 18 years old. I was probably about 6 or 7. My mother eloped and moved all the way to California. She packed me up. And at that time, our middle brother was already born, packed us all up. We moved to California. We lived on a military base in San Diego for 2 years. And during that time, my mother actually got gastric bypass surgery. And then, unfortunately, things went awry in that marriage. And so we flew all the way back to DC, back with grandma. And my mother just fell very ill and, was picking up, unfortunately, she was picking up, these very not so healthy habits, alcoholism, abuse, and also, unfortunately, dealing with addictions to different prescription pills. So I was witnessing her spiral, down. And also at the same time, my dad was in and out of jail and prison the whole time and still to this very day. And so when I was in high school, I participated in an extracurricular program called LearnServe International, or LearnServe. And LearnServe is a social innovation program for teenagers, sort of like a incubator for young change makers, however you want to say it. And so it was through that program, they challenged us to identify a social issue in our communities that we wanted to see change and improve. And then they charged us with coming up with a creative solution to that problem, or they called it a venture project. And so the issue that I identified is mass incarceration. And I narrowed my focus a bit more to the effects of parental incarceration on children and families. And part of the reason that issue kind of hit home for me is because of my experience with my incarcerated father. And then after that, the question was, well, I began to do research and I realized that over 2 million young people in the United States have or have had an incarcerated parent. But now the more updated statistic is that nearly 5 million people have had an incarcerated parent at some time in their lives between the ages of 0 and 18. And so when I saw these statistics and things, things like the United States incarcerates more people than any other country in the world or continent, I was like, you've got to be kidding. Like that's really alarming. But at the same time, it also helped me to realize at 16 years old that I wasn't alone and that I'm not alone. But it's a big problem. And I felt as though something should be done. But of course, mass incarceration is a very complicated entangled web with lots of players and lots of challenges and, a lot of things. And so for me, I had to find whatever solution that I could come up with at such a young age. And so ultimately the thought became, well, I'd like to help support other young people like myself who are, trying to better themselves. They want to further their education beyond high school and, pursue an undergraduate education, but they also have an incarcerated parent. And my grandmother was the one who made the observation. She said to me one day, because she was helping me to apply for scholarships, and she said, Yasmine, there are so many niche creative scholarships out here, but I don't see any for young people like yourself who have incarcerated parents. So grandma was the one who actually had the aha moment. And I just, got her blessing and I ran with it. And then when it was time to pitch our ideas at LearnServe, I call it a mini Shark Tank for teenagers. We had to pitch our ideas to a panel of judges. And so I pitched ScholarCHIPS, and grandma also came up with the catchy name. And the CHIPS is an imperfect acronym for Children of Incarcerated Parents. And I pitched it. I mean, I had no idea or expectation or plan. I didn't even know anything about really nonprofits or or mission work. I didn't know anything about any of that. So I didn't know that it could be a career. I didn't know you could choose it as a path. But nonetheless, it started off as a passion project. And the judges said, Yasmine, this is really great idea. You should really think about launching it. And then with LearnServe at that time, they had a partnership with this organization called Ashoka. And Ashoka has a sub arm called Ashoka's Youth Venture. They gave us at that age $1,000 seed grant to some of us to launch our project. So I was one of the ones that got the seed grant to launch my project. And then when I wanted to do, I did a kickoff event to officially launch ScholarCHIPS. And that was my Girl Scout Gold Award project. So that is all how it emerged.
That's so incredible. And even I love your story because so many of us can point to our own life stories and say, like, I see a need and doing what you know. I know that you didn't know how to start a nonprofit organization. It can be scary to say, like, oh, I want to do something bigger or I want to chase this dream of mine. But we often can talk ourselves out of it because I don't know the things. But you
Yes.
talked about, and I want to repeat the stat because it knocked the wind out of me, Yasmine. And gosh, just talking about 5 million children. And I saw that on your website and just was blown away by that. And, here we are, just came through Mother's Day. We came through Father's Day.
Yes.
I follow a lot of different organizations that work with incarcerated people or the children of incarcerated parents. And I noticed that throughout Mother's Day and Father's Day, there were these different stats that kind of popped up about a parent being incarcerated, yet we rarely hear about it. We rarely hear about it in the media, and people aren't educated. And here at One Girl
Yes.
Revolution, that we did a documentary called The Girl Inside, and that kind of launched me into a whole nother realm of doing research and talking about women and incarceration and how women are the fastest growing population in jail and prison. We don't
Yes.
often talk about their kids, right? And so here you are sharing about these stats, but these are real human beings. These are people that
Yes.
are struggling, and the children, we need to do what we can to support them. And I think something like a scholarship is so simple in a lot of ways, but the impact of it down the road, and you yourself are an example of that, right? Even the scholarship that you got and that work, how it just opened up a world of opportunity for you. And that's what you're able to do through scholarships with all of these young people.
Yes, yes. It's very impactful. And I know we'll talk about this later, but scholarships, one of the taglines that I will hashtag is more than just a scholarship. So yes, we do have offer financial support, a scholarship towards tuition and cost of attendance, but we also have a book award. We have emergency funds. We provide our scholars with brand new laptops, mentoring, mental health supports. It is truly a community and a support, however you want to say, a support net, a network of people who are surrounding these young people who have incarcerated parents and their families. As they say, a little goes a long way. It really does. You're absolutely right. And these are real people, real human beings with lives and challenges and stories and triumphs and passions and talents, so many different talents. And I really just I have committed my life to paying it forward because I was and am very blessed and fortunate to have been a recipient and a beneficiary of so many people's philanthropy, of their generosity, of their mentorship. And it really helped me leaps and bounds to not only go to undergrad and get an education, but to travel abroad, to go get a graduate degree. And so I feel like I owe it to the world and to the community and to everybody who poured positive seeds into me to also do that, because there are just so many of these young people are so incredibly talented and passionate and intelligent. Like, they are incredible. And there are a lot of industries in our workforce that are bleeding. We have a shortage, in some courtrooms, there's a shortage of judges. They've got a backlog of cases. There's a shortage in the medical field. In some states, they have a shortage of primary care physicians. So my thing is, above anything else, it's practical. Like, we need to funnel, on like a practical corporate level, we need to funnel talent into these positions because we need all of these people with all of these skills and training so that our societies, so we can live, but also thrive and be healthy.
If you want to be a part of the revolution and support the work we're doing to uplift women's voices and their stories, please consider donating to our 501c3 nonprofit organization. Every single dollar goes right back into the work that we're doing and will allow us to tell even more stories of inspiring women and girls to inspire and empower the next generation. Donate today at onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com. Yeah, well, I want to talk about the work that you're doing with scholarships. So, here you started with this little idea, this little glimmer of idea, and now it's grown into this incredible organization where you shared about some of the facets of ScholarCHIPS. For people that are listening now, what is ScholarCHIPS? And talk about all the different programming and the work that you do.
Got you. So, ScholarCHIPS is a 501c3 charitable organization, and our mission is to provide college scholarships, mentoring, mental health supports, and essentially a robust support network to college-bound young adults who have incarcerated parents, inspiring them to complete their college education. As you mentioned, Kate, ScholarCHIPS started off literally as a little seed, as a seedling, as an idea, and fast forward from 2010 to today, ScholarCHIPS has supported 88 scholars, now with 45 college graduates. And we're about to bring on our largest cohort to date in 2024. So we will have served over 100 young people, helping them in their college education. And so, as I mentioned, some of the services and things that we provide, an annual scholarship, which is currently $3,500 per year. It's renewable for our scholars, and not just 4 years, because what we've learned is some of our scholars take anywhere from, if not 5 to 7 years to graduate. Sometimes they start at community colleges and then they shift over to 4-year accredited colleges or universities. Sometimes they end up transferring 1 or 2 times. Or we've had instances where students have had to take leave or take a sabbatical and then return for their education. Sometimes they decide to change their major, like, they're starting with one major and they say, I don't really like this, or I don't think this is for me. And so it takes them longer than the average, quote unquote, 4 years. But with ScholarCHIPS, we stick with our scholars. Our goal is to get them across the finish line, to get them with that degree in their hands and to finish the commitment that they started. So that's one. And then we offer book awards for $1,000 a year. That goes directly to the student. And then for each new scholar that comes in, we provide them with a brand new, not refurbished, not reused, a brand new MacBook laptop, to help them so that they can be technologically prepared to take online classes or hybrid classes, to apply for internships, to submit their assignments and all of those things. And then we offer mentorship that scholars can opt into, where we match the scholar with a mentor. And we try to match them mainly based on, like, let's say if the scholar, they are majoring in nursing or something along, maybe on the medical field, then we'll try to match them with a mentor who is a primary care physician or a prenatal nurse or something along those lines. Or if the student is going in to study, we've seen this trend a lot where the student in undergrad will study criminal justice, and then their plan will be to go to law school because they either want to become an attorney or they want to become, whether it's a public defender, they want to become a judge. Then we will match them with either a judge, it may not be a federal level, but like a state level judge or someone who is an attorney, to help to guide them through, offer guidance and wisdom through that process. Sometimes our scholars end up getting internships and recommendation letters through those connections. ScholarCHIPS also offers, we also do help scholars to secure internships. We can't do it for all of the scholars, of course, because some of them find them on their own. But there have been a number of occasions where ScholarCHIPS has leveraged our network to get our scholars internships. And when internships are unpaid, which is very disturbing to me at this point, just because I know the challenges and financial challenges that our scholars face, we will step in and cover the cost of we will pay them hourly for their internship work. And then finally, we offer mental health and wellness support, professional development activities and workshops, bonding activities, and mental health and wellness support. So we'll have webinars on different topics about, how to deal with depression, how to cope with grief. And then if a scholar wants to seek out a therapist or find a new therapist, we will help them, guide them through that process, whatever state that student is, they're basically living in at the university, and cover the cost of those. Let's say if they want to do biweekly therapy sessions, we cover that because we realize, one, a lot of the students may not have health insurance, but the ones that do, health insurance does not always cover therapy and mental health supports. So those are like some of the different supports that we provide to our scholars. And like I said, we've supported over 88 scholars, and now we've had 45 college graduates. And we're really just building a real powerful community, because a lot of our scholars, when they graduate, they come back. They come to the award ceremonies. They're excited to meet the new scholars. I'm trying to recruit some of them to be mentors and teach them, how to donate, and tell them, look, you don't have to be a millionaire to donate and contribute. You can donate $10 a month, $10 a year, whatever. Like, just to get them in the habit of giving back in a lot of different ways. Even a couple of our alums are also on the board of directors. So we really try very hard. We really try to be very intentional about engaging scholars and alumni in our community. And we also offer advocacy. We do different advocacy projects and give scholars opportunities to travel to different states to speak on panels. We just spoke at Arizona State University. Arizona State Center for Child Wellbeing has a conference called the Annual Children of Incarcerated Parents Conference. And 6 of our scholars, I think 6 or 7, we flew them out to Arizona. They spoke on the panel and shared their stories. It was just so impactful and powerful in a lot of different ways. So, I think what we're building here is really impactful and phenomenal in a lot of ways.
The power of community is so important, and also just believing in these young people and saying, I see something in you. It helps them believe in themselves, right? And then having that support system, that community. I love that it's overarching in many different things. I know that your original idea was like, oh, we'll do scholarships, but really walking alongside these young people and then continuing to walk with them. Like, once they get through, that the scholars still are a part of the network, still part of the community, and then they're able to give back in so many different ways. Yasmine, is there a story or two? I'm sure there are so many stories. I know you mentioned all of the young people that have gone through your programs, but is there a story or two that sticks out to you as really the example of the power of the work that you're doing that you could share?
Yes, absolutely. So one of them that comes to mind is Mick Guile. Mick uses she and they, them pronouns. Mick is just phenomenal. Mick became a scholar back in, I want to say about maybe 2018 or 2019 or so. Mick graduated from Temple University, and Mick majored in criminal justice. Now, Mick is just completed their first year at the University of Maryland. I think it's called Francis King Carey. I think I got that correct. School of Law, but University of Maryland School of Law just finished their first year and is currently interning at the Public Defender Service of the District of Columbia. ScholarCHIPS is funding because surprisingly, but, you know, in the world of public service, a lot of the internships are still unpaid, but Mick is working 40 hours a week. So ScholarCHIPS, stepped in the gap there and is helping so that Mick can take that internship without having to work night shifts and weekends at Walmart or where have you just to make ends meet because our students still have living expenses. They have to, spend money for metro or the bus or train, gas if they drive and those kinds of things. But Mick is always engaged. Mick is always engaged with ScholarCHIPS. Mick always comes to any events and is always willing and ready to go. Like, okay, Miss Yasmine, just tell me when, tell me what you want me to do. You know what I mean? And it's not about like, I try to be cognizant of power dynamics because I don't want to create an environment where scholars feel indebted in that way, because that's not what it's about. But when I see young people who understand the importance of not only reciprocity in the healthiest way, but giving back, like, as people pour into you, also pouring back and helping to reach the next generations, Mick gets it. Mick gets it. Mick is funny, down to earth, loves SpongeBob, also speaks Japanese, which is incredible. And Mick's father has been incarcerated most of Mick's life, but Mick has a decent relationship with their father and they talk from time to time and all. And I know some of Mick's family members. So yeah, Mick is one of the many scholars who I absolutely adore and admire, who are just really all stars. I mean, Mick, I joke with Mick, but I'm very serious that one day Mick is the kind of, because of their drive and their intelligence and their passion to do good in the world, Mick could very well become one of our future Supreme Court justices. So when I see young people like Mick, I'm like, let's go all in. Let's go all out to support them, because that little scholarship, that book award, that internship is going to go a long way.
Yeah, it's the power of seeing people's stories, seeing them as people, seeing their talents and finding ways to support them. And that's what's so cool about all the different programming that you do, that there are a lot of different avenues that young people can go down. And then I think there's also power in us not feeling alone and saying, oh, there are other kids out there like me who have an incarcerated parent. They understand the struggles. And I know every person's journey and every person's story is a little bit different, but that commonality is so important in this world. And so you're really instilling that within everyone who comes through ScholarCHIPS.
Thank you.
So what is next? I know that ScholarCHIPS has grown and evolved so much since you started, and I know you have a lot of things that you're working on, but where do you go from here? And in your dream of dream worlds, this podcast is all about dreaming. Where do you hope that ScholarCHIPS goes 5 or 10 years down the line?
Yes, absolutely. Well, one, I'd love to share that after the CNN Heroes feature, which was throughout 2023, I felt led to open up. Prior to 2023, ScholarCHIPS was a regional, local program where when the only students who were in DC, Maryland, and Virginia were eligible to apply. But we weren't getting as many applications as I thought we would in DC and the DMV. And while we're getting more, it's not like we're getting hundreds of applications. And so I opened up, after the CNN Heroes, I opened up the scholarship application to students across the country, and we received over 120 applications. Yes, yes. And while I wish we could fund all of them, we have a very strong cohort of about 16 students. That's the largest cohort we've ever had. And half of them are from the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, and the other half are from other states. So we've got one from Missouri. We've got one student from Jacksonville, Florida, one from Mississippi, a few from Texas. Really, this is the beginning of what I envision that ScholarCHIPS will be and can be. There are other amazing mentorship and scholarship programs out there, But of course, ScholarCHIPS has that specific focus on young adults who have experienced having an incarcerated parent, which makes us unique in a lot of different ways because we understand what that experience is like. And young people can connect to other young people their age who have experienced that. You can't put a price on how valuable or invaluable that really is. So ultimately, I envision in the future that ScholarCHIPS will have a national reach, but also even international, because I know that in other countries and on other continents that parental incarceration is a challenge for families. And even in some countries, in some cases, and here as well, that when a student has an incarcerated parent or both parents, sometimes the child ends up having to go into foster care. So the need is great, and this is just the beginning. And I'm hoping further that ScholarCHIPS can become a real thought leader in the spaces of higher education, in the spaces of when we talk about reentry and family unification and all of those big issues and topics that we talk about. I'm really hoping that ScholarCHIPS can be seen as a thought leader in those spaces and to help other leaders and programs think about children of incarcerated parents, because sometimes it's not that people don't see it as important, but they maybe did just never occurred to them, that this is a population that really needs some help and support.
Yeah, it's one of those things, out of sight, out of mind. And if you're not thinking about it, we're not talking about it in the media. We're not talking about people who are incarcerated or children who have incarcerated parents and building community around them. That's why I love so much the work that you're doing. And we've had other organizations on, the Pure Heart Foundation out of Detroit. They do a great job of building community around children of incarcerated parents. But I just see so much potential. I know you've already accomplished so much in such a short period of time, but I can't wait to see where you go from here. And of course, we'll be following and supporting in any way that we possibly can. But I'm
Thank
so
you.
curious if you could get to the very root of why you do what you do every single day. I'm sure there are great days like CNN Heroes, or like I mentioned before, when you were on.
That's one in a million.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore's show. You got to meet Drew, and Magic Johnson made a video for you. I was dying when I saw that. But you have all these like great days, right? But like anything, they're really difficult days, and you're also dealing with children who have really difficult situations. And there's so much you can do, but also sometimes there are situations where you can't help, you can't step in.
Yeah.
If you could get to the very root of why you do what you do every single day, what would you say that root is? Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at One Girl Revo. That's the number One Girl REVO. We're on TikTok at One Girl Revolution. And please subscribe to our YouTube channel at One Girl Revolution. That's the number One Girl Revolution. You can find all of our social media links, previous podcast episodes, our Emmy-nominated documentary series, and more on our website at onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com.
It's a couple of things. I really, truly believe that this work is my life's purpose. I really do, because I tried to go other routes. I tried to go the radio route. I tried to go the public relations route. And I mean, kind of some of those things are embedded in what I do with the scholars and scholarships, but this is really my life's work. This is the work that makes my soul come alive. This is the work that makes me get up at 6 a.m. or 8 a.m. and go work late into the night. I mean, I work really hard to make sure our scholars have what they need and, build this community and plan events and try to fundraise and all of that. And so now because it's just getting a lot, I'm starting to try to hire some staff. We have interns and that kind of thing. But what keeps me going, the root of why I do what I do, is because this is my soul's purpose. This is my life's purpose. But also, I know what it feels like. I know what it feels like to not have a parent or parents present who you want to be a part of your life, right? Like, you want them to be there. You want to spend time with them. You want to get to know them. I know what it's like to receive those collect calls. You have a call from so-and-so prison, right? Like, I know what it's like to be in college and not be able to afford. I'm sorry, I'm getting emotional, but to buy a bed. My senior year of college at Elon University, I bought a blow up mattress, and blow up mattresses. If a little pin, if you put a little pin in them, that's the end of it. So it wouldn't inflate. So I was laying on a flat air mattress. And one of my, God bless her, rest her soul, the late Dr. Hadi Frantani. I will never forget Dr. Frantani, because she was one of those people for me. And I told her, for whatever reason, I told her I didn't have a mattress or whatever. She gave me her futon mattress. And that was what I laid, that's what I slept on my senior year before I graduated. So I know what it's like to eat ramen noodles in college. I know what it's like not to have a car on campus, right? So when our scholars go through certain things, it's like it takes me back to that moment. And I say to myself, they don't have to experience that because we have the resources, right? Because life is hard enough, but we can at least help with this one thing. That was the very long answer to that
No,
question.
but it's real, right? And knowing the struggles, and I think that you are able to connect with so many of the scholars in a really special, unique way because you've been there. I was talking to a survivor of abuse earlier, and she's doing something similar where she's like, this is what it's almost like, without sugarcoating something, it's like, I went through this thing so that I can help other people, right? You went through
Yes.
what you went through because it put you on the path for what you're doing now. And
Yes.
would you have changed things? Of course, right? Like if you could go back and you could afford all the things, but you're able to connect with so many of these young people and say, look, I've been there. I know what it's like. And now through scholarships, you're able to support them and you're able to be the person or the community that you could have used in certain circumstances. So I just think what you're doing, Yasmine, is so incredible. And I can't wait to continue to follow everything that you're doing and support in any way that we possibly can. But for people who are listening, what can we do to support your work? And what can we do to emulate it in our own communities? I'm thinking about you when you were a college student and how someone gave you a mattress. Sometimes we need to just open our eyes to the struggles of people in our own communities, our children's friends, or young people that we know that may be going through something. What can we do to support your work at ScholarCHIPS? And then what can we do to emulate your work in our own communities?
Yes, yes. I love that question, Kate. Well, definitely, of course, in order to help scholarships further our mission and the work that we're doing with college-bound young adults with incarcerated parents, you can certainly donate any amount. Any amount is welcome. You're welcome to, if you want to address your donation in honor of one of your family members, whether it's for their birthday or a family member who passed, you're welcome to do that. Sometimes people would want their donation to go to a specific element. It could be, you want your donation to go to our mental health and wellness program or to fund a scholarship. We're open to that. So please, follow us, connect with us at our website, scholarchipsfund.org. And chips is like chocolate chip cookie, scholar, and then chips, CHIPSFUND, scholarchipsfund.org. We also welcome volunteers and mentors. You do not have to be in DC, Maryland, or Virginia to mentor. You can mentor from anywhere. We have a mentor who is a football player in Canada. Yeah. So, you can mentor. We have a mentor application on our website. And also, in terms of like how folks can emulate the work of scholarships in their communities, first, I would say try to lead your life with kindness and just think about any kind of ways that you can help someone, whatever that looks like. Maybe paying for someone's groceries or checking in on a neighbor. I know nowadays we got to be kind of careful with things, but and then like college students, there are so many mentorship programs. There are mentorship programs in every state. And there are lots of programs like scholarships that are more focused on grade school students who have incarcerated parents, both mentorship programs, and they have camps, camps where they'll take a group of students to a facility, a jail or a prison to spend a week. They'll go into the facility every day for like a week to spend time with their dads, and they do creative activities, but they need volunteers, to be involved in that work so that the staff don't have to carry it all alone. So just, things like that, getting involved with your local community. And if you think that if you'd like to see scholarships in your city or your town or your community, please feel free to give me a call, email us. All of our information is on our website. And of course, definitely follow us and engage with us on our social media platforms as well at ScholarCHIPS or ScholarCHIPS Fund DC.
I will put all the links to your website, your social media. We'll tag you and everything, so it'll be easy for people to get involved in your great work. And I always say on this podcast that the free and easy way to support any good work or good initiative is just to follow and share the work that they're doing. And so
repost
things. Yeah. But I just encourage everybody to reach out and find ways that they can get involved in the great work that you're doing. And I can't wait to continue to follow everything that you're doing and support it any way that we can. But before I let you go, I always end this podcast on 2 questions. So I'd like to ask you, you are a one girl revolution. You are changing the world every single day through your life, through your work with ScholarCHIPS. But who is a one girl revolution in your life? Who is a woman or girl that inspires you?
Yes. There are many, but you know what? I'm going to go with Viola Davis. Viola Davis, I don't know a whole lot about her personal journey. I know some of it. I still have to read her biography, but she came from humble beginnings. And for her to be in the industry that she's in acting and in Hollywood, that is not an easy, especially as a woman, and especially as a Black woman and as a dark-skinned Black woman, which she openly talks about. That is not an easy industry to navigate and to be successful in. And she's been very open about challenges that she's faced in the industry, even with trying to get equal and fair pay for her roles. And then, getting roles, roles that she's capable of performing. I just admire her. It seems like she has stayed grounded throughout all of the many years. And now she is finding her own power, not only in speaking out, but I think she and her husband have created their own filmmaking company. And she's starting to produce films that she wants to see in the world, as well as, and giving other young up and coming actors opportunities. I am just enamored with her and her strength, and that she has not only has she not given up, but she also is creating opportunities and for others, coming behind her. And to me, that says a lot about her character and, who she is as a person, and just her impact that she's having on the world and the Hollywood industry, the film industry. Because if anybody does anything, we're all going to watch films. We're all going to be on Netflix or Hulu or Disney Plus or wherever.
I love that you brought her up. The second you mentioned her name, the first word that came to mind was queen, because she really is she is such a queen. And I think she's such a revolutionary. Regal. Yeah. And just all of her empowering quotes and words. And every time she speaks, and even on social media, I follow her on social media, she's always posting this really inspiring and empowering content, which I love. So she is really making an impact in the world. She was given a talent, but she's using that talent for so much good. So I love that you brought her up.
Yes.
So last question before I let you go, I always end this podcast on is, if you could leave women and girls around the world with one message, what would it be?
Don't forget to care for yourself. It is not selfish. You cannot pour from an empty cup. I need to take my own. I still have to remember this every single day. It's okay to take care of yourself. We've got to, because if we're not healthy in mind, body, spirit, like if we're not mentally, all of that, if we're not healthy, and strong, in ourselves, for ourselves first, then we can't be any good to our families, to coworkers, to friends, to the world. So take the time you need. Make sure you're eating, getting your nutrients, drinking your water, get the massage. You may not be able to get it all the time, but, book the massage, book the girls' trip if you got to do that, book the nail appointments. Like, don't forget yourself as you are constantly serving and giving to everybody else.
That is such good advice. And I love the show Parks and Rec where they're like, treat yourself. And it's like, to your point, it doesn't have to be a lot of things, right? Some of us, we don't have money to do those types of things all the time, but save up your money and every once in a while, treat yourself and take care of yourself. So I love that you shared that. And Yasmine, I am so grateful to know you. I'm so honored to have you on this podcast. Thank you so much for being on the One Girl Revolution podcast. And thank you for all the incredible work that you do.
Thank you, Kate. This was phenomenal. And again, I love that one girl revolution. I just love that. I love that. So powerful.
For more from One Girl Revolution, to listen to all of our podcast episodes, watch our Emmy-nominated documentary series, follow us on social media, donate to our nonprofit organization, and more, please visit onegirlrevolution.com. That's the number onegirlrevolution.com.